Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Jason, for inviting me to share my thoughts about immigration issues. My friends, I remember that beautiful day in March of 2007 when I came to the United States of America for the first time. And it was one of the most significant days of my life. And I can tell you one thing, that I did not cross the Rio Grande River. And I did not jump across a fence at the southern border, and I did not land on a California beach by boat. Okay, so none of that happened. I actually came to the United States from Bangladesh by plane, and I landed at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York, and I did that legally. And that's the key word. America welcomes immigrants as long as they come here legally. Now, we know that immigration is a huge topic in America right now, and let me share with you some data. According to a Gallup poll, and this was done a few years ago, more than 750 million people worldwide would migrate to another country if they could. More than 750 million people worldwide, they want to migrate to a different country. And I am not surprised that the United States of America is the most desirable destination for potential immigrants. Approximately 150 million adults worldwide want to make the United States their home. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's possible to allow all those 150 million adults to come to America? No, right? No. But that's probably something that Joe Biden wants to do. But we, the people, with common sense, we know that it is not possible for the United States of America to allow 150 million adults into the country. Now, last year, I had the wonderful opportunity to be a guest on Fox and Friends to share my thoughts on immigration issues. And during the live interview, I said that we cannot have two pathways to enter the United States, one legal and one illegal. There must be only one pathway for immigrants to come to America, and we know what that pathway is. That's the legal pathway. Now, many of you probably already know this, that the Democrats accuse us, meaning the Republicans, of being anti-immigrant, simply because we want border security. Now, I'm sorry to report to you that I, too, have been called anti-immigrant. Now, do I look like I'm anti-immigrant?
You look like a Klansman.
So Democrats, they're going to say whatever they want, regardless of logic and reason.
Right.
But we, the conservatives, we have to follow the facts, and we have to tell the truth. And let me share with you some facts. So you look at these numbers. Every year, approximately 1 million foreign nationals get their permanent residency through the legal process to live and work in the United States. Now, 2020, 2021, those numbers are different, a little different. Obviously, I think it's because of COVID when everything slowed down. But over 1 million people every year getting their lawful permanent resident status to live and work in America. Now, these are individuals who go through background check, and they complete all the necessary paperwork, and they are patient with the process, and they respect the rule of law. And not only that, every year, hundreds of thousands of people become naturalized United States citizens, okay? And so, here's an interesting statistic. The United States of America welcomed more than 7.6 million naturalized citizens over the last decade. And you can find all that information at USCIS, which is United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. There's something called the Handbook of Immigration Statistics, published by the Department of Homeland Security. You can go and find all this information there. Now, when you look at all that data, does it sound like we are an anti-immigrant country?
No.
No. So the reality is that we welcome immigrants as long as people follow the process and they come here legally. So when Democrats say that the United States is anti-immigrant, when they accuse us, the Republicans, of being anti-immigrant, that's false, because the truth is the United States is an immigrant-friendly country. So legal immigrants, they come here, they don't expect handouts. They come here, they pursue education, they seek professional opportunities, they work hard, and they love America. And so that also sums up my pathway of coming to the United States. After coming to USA, I completed my undergraduate education at UW-Madison. Then I pursued a Master of Public Affairs degree. I worked hard, I paid taxes, and I respected the rule of law, and I continue to do all of that. Now, it is true that immigrants, when they come to America, they face a variety of challenges. I think whenever you're moving to a different country, there are challenges that people face, and there's no doubt about that, because it's not always easy to move from one country to another, and you know, it takes time to adjust. So some immigrants, they face financial challenges, some people face language barriers, and others may have difficulty understanding the customs and traditions in the new country. And in my case, I was, you know, fortunate on the financial side. I didn't have much issues. Regarding language, I did not face any barriers because I had learned English growing up, because I went to an English medium school. Now, one change that I had to make, and I talk about it quite frequently, I had to change a lot of my spellings from the British spellings to the American spellings. Like, you know, words like color and favor, you get rid of the U that appear in the British version, but not in American version. And I use some other examples, like lift became elevator, and zebra crossing became crosswalk, and flat became apartment, and so on and so forth. I mean, I could give you a very long list. But these are all, you know, fun things. I had to make these changes, and that's all fine. I could make those changes. But the greatest challenge, a serious challenge that I faced as an immigrant, was the following. I struggled to understand the American healthcare system.
I do too.
Many of us do. Now, I come from a family that's heavily into healthcare and did business with foreign pharmaceutical companies. And growing up in Asia, for our family at least, healthcare was never an issue. We didn't worry about it. We understood the system. But after coming to the United States, I struggled to understand even some of the basic things pertaining to health insurance, such as like deductibles and in-network versus out-of-network, and prior authorization and out-of-pocket maximum, pre-existing conditions. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I had real difficulty understanding how US healthcare works. Now, I always believe that with hard work, you can overcome challenges. I think we all believe that. And I needed to understand the US healthcare system for my own survival. And I needed to figure out the health insurance system for both me and my mom, because she was also struggling to understand how everything works pertaining to healthcare, something that we didn't face in Bangladesh. Now, I started with browsing the internet, and I soon figured out that that was not enough. I needed a structured way to tackle this problem. And so what I did was, I took a course on healthcare systems and policy as an undergraduate student. That was my first concrete step. And long story short, I found myself in graduate school taking more healthcare policy courses and working at the Wisconsin Medical Society doing research on healthcare workforce, followed by a project assistantship that I got, and I worked at the Wisconsin Legislative Council writing memos on long-term care issues, and I also did health policy research at the Population Health Institute in Madison. And so what it means is I became very deeply involved in healthcare policy. Now, after receiving my Master of Public Affairs degree from UW-Madison, I got a very nice job at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. My position was program and policy analyst because I had a passion for public service, because I struggled to understand how healthcare system works, and so I wanted to help people. And so from not having any idea about the American healthcare system just a few years ago to now working at the Division of Healthcare Access and Accountability at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. So I was very happy when I got that job in 2013, right after I completed my master's degree. And everything was great, and then something happened. I became very uncomfortable, and I'm going to tell you what happened. But before I get to that, let me tell you that I did not grow up as a Republican or a Democrat. Because I grew up in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, you don't have a Republican, you don't have a Democrat. But my mother raised me in a way that made me a conservative. I'm pro-life. I believe in the right to self-defense, and I believe in the right to own firearms. I believe in limited government and greater freedom in the market. So I was a conservative. But I did not have any political party affiliation. I simply liked Republicans because of what they believed in, because my views aligned. But I was not a political party volunteer. I was not an activist. I was not even a member. So let me go back to Wisconsin Department of Health Services. As I was working there as a program and policy analyst, I soon realized that there were whispers in and around the office. There were whispers. People were whispering in the break room. There were whispers in the lobby, and there were whispers in the cubicles, and there were whispers among liberals who disliked the Republicans in that building. Okay, so, I mean, think about the time that I'm talking about. This is 2013. This is 2014, because that's when I worked there. Back then, there was a Republican governor in Wisconsin, and all the appointees and all the heads of the agencies, they were all Republicans. And so overall, the state was in very good hands. But deep inside state government, there were many left-wing career bureaucrats who had grown their roots in the department, and they did not like the conservatives.
Right on.
And soon, these left-wing government employees at Wisconsin Department of Health Services, they realized that I was not a part of their team.
Oops.
And my life became miserable as a result. And all I wanted to do was focus on my work and be a good public servant, but there was a target on my back. And so I revealed to my mother what was going on. I told her everything, what I was facing. And she said to me, and my mom's already laughing because she knows what I'm about to say. She told me, tomorrow you go and resign. I was shocked. If I resigned, what would I do after that? I mean, I had just gotten this great job after my master's degree. So anyway, surprisingly, the next day, my mom actually accompanied me to downtown Madison, and she sat in the car while I went inside the gray building, which is Wisconsin Department of Health Services, and I submitted my resignation. Because my mom cared more about my well-being than about anything else. So let me tell you what one of my DHS colleagues told me during the exit interview. She said, and this is a colleague from DHS, during the exit interview, she says, now you can go work for any political party. They were making fun of me. They were taunting me. And I was shocked because they revealed their true nature. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan environment. After that, here's the interesting part. After that, I applied for several jobs in other departments in state government. My initial exams were great, the interviews were great, and I was confident, but I kept getting rejected. And I understood what was going on. sometimes we have to pay a price for being a conservative. So 2014 was a turning point in my life. I resigned from my job at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, but I also received a Trailblazer Award for my public service. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So I get an award for public service, but then I'm also left with no other option, and I had to resign from the department because my life was miserable at DHS. So anyway, another great thing that happened in 2014 was I met our great senior U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who hired me to be on his staff. That was in 2014, and this is 2024. So, as of now, I've been with him, been with his office for 10 years.
Wow.
So this is my 10th year in his office. Thank you.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was in 2014 that something else happened. I became a naturalized United States citizen.
Congratulations.
And I also received, so this is a picture from my naturalization ceremony. And that year, I became a citizen in November 2014. The following month, December 2014, my mom became a naturalized U.S. citizen. So 2014 was a great year for us, challenging but great. And then I also received this excellent recognition from Senator Ron Johnson. He presented to me a flag, a U.S. flag, along with the certificate that says, this flag was flown for Tosifanam at the request of Senator Ron Johnson in honor of his achievement of becoming a citizen of the United States of America. So this was wonderful. And so, my friends, here's something that I want everyone to understand. When I took the oath of allegiance to become a U.S. citizen, I gave up my allegiance to the country that I was born in. And let me read to you the words on the oath of allegiance. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. That I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law. That I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law. That I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law. And that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. So, the United States of America is my home now. The U.S. flag is my flag now. And the Star-Spangled Banner is my national anthem now. And this is a story of legal immigration.
Wow. Wow.
Blessed to be an American. So you can actually watch a video of my nationalization ceremony. It's on YouTube. I can actually, Jason, I can send you a link if you want to share that with everyone. I'll send that link. But illegal now let's talk about illegal immigration. Illegal immigration looks very different. While legal immigrants stand for the American flag, the illegal immigrants, especially those in caravans, they wave the flags of foreign countries while heading towards the southern border to cross illegally. While legal immigrants work hard for every single dollar, illegal immigrants, they just expect government handouts. And so the Biden administration, since 2021, allowed more than 10 million illegal immigrants to enter the United States.
That's almost 3 million more than what came in legally in a decade.
It's more, way more.
In 3 years.
So I mean, and obviously these are estimates, right? I mean, there are so many gotaways, and it's Biden border crisis. That's the hashtag I frequently use. Hashtag Biden border crisis.
Yep.
And these are people coming from all over the world, and we have no idea who they are, what their background is. So the Democrats, they say that the migrants are coming here to work. If the migrants are coming here to work, and if they are here to support themselves with their work, then who are those foreign nationals living in hotels and shelters in sanctuary cities at the expense of American taxpayers? Now, the Democrats say that the migrants are here to contribute towards our economy. Then why are so many migrants going to emergency rooms of American hospitals and not paying their bills for the services that they receive?
Right.
Many American hospitals are struggling. They're struggling to stay open because of illegal immigration. Now, let me share with you some information from other parts of the country. In Sanctuary City, New York, it is estimated that $10.6 billion may be spent through June of 2026 to deal with the migrant influx. New York City is giving migrant families prepaid cards so they can go out and shop. And New York City officials are claiming that the money can only be spent on food and baby supplies. Now, first of all, I think they should not be getting a single dollar. Okay, that's number one. But now that the New York officials are saying that the money can be spent only on food and baby supplies, my question is, how are you going to enforce that? Right? So reportedly, the illegal immigrants, they have to sign an affidavit.
Yeah.
And they have to promise that they're going to spend the prepaid cards on food and baby supplies. Now, the question that I frequently ask is, do you think that the illegal immigrants, these are people who violated our nation's laws, are they going to follow the words on an affidavit? No, they're not. We know that. Now, the state of New York approved, I was shocked when I saw that. This happened just a few days ago. The state of New York approved $2.4 billion for the migrants in the latest state budget. In Chicago, the city council voted for $70 million additional dollars on top of $300 million already allocated for the migrants. So millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars are being spent on the migrants. The city of Denver, listen to this, the city of Denver urged Americans to house migrants in their homes. I mean, our property rights are under attack. We know that. This is because of the Democrats. Reportedly, a migrant influencer from Venezuela published a video on social media asking migrants to become squatters. I mean, just imagine these illegal immigrants are now influencing on social media. I guess anything is possible in Joe Biden's America. Migrant influencers asking people to be squatters. In California, a far-left politician introduced legislation to give taxpayer-funded government loans to illegal immigrants so that they can go and buy homes. The Democrats, what they want is they want the illegal immigrants to steal our American dream.
Of course. Our replacement.
Yeah, they are displacing Americans. Illegal immigration is costing massive sums of taxpayer money. We know that. City of Denver, for example, is looking at a budget deficit of $180 million. So we know exactly what's going on. The Democrats are enticing illegal immigrants to come to America in order to create new voters. In 2022, Senator Chuck Schumer proposed a pathway to citizenship for millions of illegal immigrants. Now, as a legal immigrant, when I heard that, as a legal immigrant and a naturalized U.S. citizen, I reject Chuck Schumer's proposal. Illegal immigrants should never have pathway to citizenship. Now, it's not just the Washington Democrats who want to create new voters. In New York City, at the local level, the city council is trying to extend voting rights for non-citizens in city elections. They want anyone with a work permit who has been in the city of New York for 30 days to be able to vote. And then we also see that the Democrats are pushing for work permits for the illegal immigrants. So you do the math. What they're really trying to do is give voting rights to illegal immigrants. And so this is going through a court battle, but if the New York City liberals win the court challenge, the court battle, then the illegal immigrants may end up voting in city elections in New York. And so we know what's going on. The Democrats, they are trying to disenfranchise American citizens by trying to give voting rights to non-citizens, including illegal immigrants. And this is what the Democrats do. They try to use language to legalize and normalize and glorify illegal immigration. Now, if you've heard me speak before, you know the examples I'm going to use. Previously, when Border Patrol apprehended illegal immigrants, it was called an apprehension, right? And now the Biden administration calls it an encounter. A foreign national who illegally enters the US is called an illegal immigrant or an illegal alien. But now the Biden administration calls that person a newcomer. They're not newcomers, they are illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. And now the Democrats in places like New York City, they want to spread this burden of illegal immigration all over the country by calling for a decompression strategy. What's a decompression strategy? The New York City mayor wants a decompression strategy. What it means is he's asking the federal government to spread illegal immigrants all over the country, which means sending them to Wisconsin too. And it's already happening. Here in Wisconsin, we already have that problem. There are many illegal immigrants in Whitewater, Wisconsin. You know that. Whitewater was in the news. They have a big problem there. And reportedly, the city of Madison spent $700,000 on illegal immigrants. $700,000 on illegal immigrants. And so, just guess what may be happening in other communities across the state. So the illegal immigrants, as you said, they are displacing Americans. The homeless Americans are not getting help, but the illegals are receiving millions and billions of dollars worth of free housing and lots of other services. American senior citizens are struggling because of inflation, but the illegals, they continue to get free stuff. There are many American children living in poverty, but the illegals are getting taxpayer-funded benefits. Our veterans are not getting the services they need, but the illegals, they continue to absorb more and more American taxpayer dollars. So if illegal immigration continues, our communities will become less safe, and housing issues will intensify, and schools and hospitals will become overburdened, and there will be chaos and lawlessness, all because of the Biden border crisis. And so as a legal immigrant and a naturalized US citizen, here's my message. I think that American cities, villages, and towns, the local officials, must declare that they will not be sanctuary communities. Proactively, I think American communities must declare that we have no room for illegal immigrants. I'll give you one example. And I talk about this quite frequently. This is from Colorado. So a couple months ago, El Paso County in Colorado, so it's not El Paso, Texas, this is in Colorado. El Paso County in Colorado found out that some illegal immigrants arrived in their community. And these were most likely migrants from Denver, because guess what Denver is doing? Denver's giving taxpayer-funded bus passes to the migrants so that they can go and populate other areas.
Of course they are.
And so migrants showed up in El Paso County in Colorado, and the El Paso County Board of Commissioners, they organized immediately they organized a press conference and they declared that the county will not be a sanctuary for the illegals. And furthermore, the County Board of Commissioners asked the nonprofits in the area to refrain from helping the illegals. And they said, don't invite this crisis. And this is not the only community. There's a long list of other cities and counties that are also declaring that they are not going to be sanctuary communities. So I think that this is the kind of action that local leaders should take nationwide, including here in Wisconsin, because the Biden administration, for as long as they are in power, they're not going to secure the border. We know that. And so it is essential for local government entities, villages, towns, cities, counties, to declare that they will not be sanctuaries and that we're not going to spend a single taxpayer dollar on the migrants. So we have to send a message from the local level that there's no room for illegal immigrants in our community. So what I have been doing is I have been exercising my First Amendment right to free speech, and I talk about a wide variety of social and political issues, including this border crisis, and I have written more than 100 letters to editors and op-eds that have appeared in many newspapers, including the Dodgeville Chronicle. Although it was a few years ago, it was a different topic, but I write on a wide variety of topics. So I'm exercising my First Amendment right. I also have a podcast, Explore and Engage with Anam, it's called. And I also started a few months ago, I started publishing the video versions of my podcast episodes on YouTube. So my channel is still in its infancy, but it's growing. And so what you can do, obviously, if there are speaking opportunities where I can go and share my story, I'm happy to do that. So I appreciate this opportunity. And if there are other groups who would like to hear my story, I'm happy to go and talk. And you can all subscribe to my YouTube channel, help me grow. You know, what I have been doing since January is every night, almost every night, I try to do it at least 5 times a week. I start a live stream from my room at around like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. And I mostly talk about, you know, ongoing issues. And as I have been doing the live streams on YouTube, I've seen that people from various states have been tuning in, and I've gotten to know a lot of those people. So I have folks from New Mexico, a lot of the border states, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Texas, they tune in. Some of them even tell me what they are seeing in their communities. I have people who tune in from Chicago, from New York. So they share their stories about what they're seeing in their neighborhoods, and I share my views. So it's like a community. Okay, so when I do those live streams, I'm not the only one talking. I'm actively participating in the live chat, and people are sharing their, you know, their thoughts with me, and I'm responding. They're asking me questions. So, you know, very casual setting. So I do that. So if you want to look up my channel, you can. It's just my name, Tausif Anam. And, you know, as I said, I'm happy to speak in front of more groups to share my story. And my friends, I am hoping and praying every single day that Donald Trump wins the election. And I am hoping and praying that we not only win the White House, but we also increase the size of our majority in the House of Representatives. And we also have to regain the majority in the U.S. Senate. And so if we want to restore sanity and common sense in Washington, and that's possible, we can do that. We have to help Donald Trump win. We have to regain the majority in the U.S. Senate. We have to increase the size of the majority in the House. And right here in Wisconsin, we can do it by defeating Tammy Baldwin.
Yeah.
And so there are many legal immigrants like myself who are sick and tired of the border crisis and illegal immigration. We want border security. The legal immigrants want border security. And American citizens, natural-born citizens, naturalized citizens, They are sick and tired of seeing our tax dollars being spent on the migrants. So it is time to secure our border, and obviously it is time to end illegal immigration. So with that, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. You all can stay in touch with me. I'll take questions, but I have some flyers here. You've got my email address, you've got my website. Feel free to stay in touch with me. And thanks again for this opportunity. I'd love to connect with each and every one of you. And before I conclude, let me just say that in November, I'm eagerly looking forward to voting for Donald Trump to make America great again.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And any questions for me at this time?
I'm thankful to God.
So we'll go there and then we'll come to you. Sir, go ahead.
That speech you just gave, if I was Hispanic, I'm Italian, my father immigrated from this country legally, but if I was Hispanic and I came up here and I worked at Burger King or McDonald's or in the factory working hard, and my dad was illegal, but he worked all his life, I working hard in a blue-collar job, I might find that offensive as hell.
You know, these days a lot of people find so many things offensive, right? But what my message really is, it's law and order.
Yeah.
It's law and order.
Yep.
It's about fairness. Because I'm glad you asked that question. So I'll tell you a little bit more background. So, and my parents know more about this, so my mom can speak on that. But from the time that our application was submitted for immigrant visa, it took 11 years.
Yep.
11 years from the time the application was submitted. We were in Bangladesh, I was a little boy. It took 11 years for us to get a call from the US Embassy to show up for the interview. We showed up for the interview, and I'm giving you the nutshell version, it's more complicated than that. We go through all the process, we get the visa, we come to the United States, 2007, we get our green cards, then there's a long list of process and procedures that you have to follow every single day, reporting requirements. For example, every time I changed address, moved from one department to another, I had to report that to the US government. And so we go through all that. Finally, you become eligible for citizenship. Then you submit the N-400 application for citizenship, and it's application this thick. But by the time you add all the supplemental documents, it can become this thick. So you go through all that, and then you have to take a civics test. You have to know the language. You have to go through biometrics. You have to appear for an interview. There's money involved. And you just have to make sure, because it's under the penalty of perjury, you cannot make any mistakes. So you go through all that, and finally you become a US citizen. So that's the legal process. And the illegal process is simply cross the Rio Grande. So, it's like, I understand, but I want this system to be fair.
The legal process really works like this until the Biden administration came into power. People would go to Mexico or Guatemala or El Salvador, and they would recruit people to come up and work jobs that are being paid $5, $6 an hour. They would live in places with 20, 30, 40 people living in an apartment, and they were up there to work the jobs no American would do, under any conceivable circumstance. The pay would be worth doing it. Okay? And they would be recruited to come here. I used to deliver mail. Almost every person there was recruited to come in here and work for a particular guy. But 10,000 workers he could sell to the restaurants, and which he did. I was in another place where a guy named Patel would go back to India and bring people over here under the same deal to fill his apartment complexes. Now, when you talk about caravans, what's going on today, that's a totally different thing than a lot of these other people. They don't hate America. 1/3 of our army is made up of Hispanics. They don't hate this country. It's a totally different thing than what George Soros is doing today, and the people who have been in this here for about 10 years. The neighborhood I lived in was 70-75% Hispanic. I would put plenty of Republican signs on Hispanic homes. They're not hostile to us, and we talk to them just like they're any other human being, okay? So I don't have a problem with being against the caravans or what's going on in the last 4 years, but to say that illegal aliens, all of them are terrible people, and they don't work hard, they work
I have not said they're terrible people. See, I'm not judging their character. I'm not judging their character. I'm simply saying that they have violated our nation's laws. See, if I speed on this highway, the policeman who's going to stop me is not going to judge my character. The person's going to give me a ticket because I was speeding. So all I'm saying, I'm not judging because I can't possibly judge millions and millions of people individually, right? All I'm saying is they are here illegally and they should not be here illegally.
So
That's
our plan to win the Hispanic young people who are here illegally is to deport their parents. That strikes me as a great plan.
Right now, 46% of Hispanics vote Republican.
So let's
Because they're Americans.
And
let's have a policy though where it's one thing to deport these people who came here in these caravans and being recruited just to come here for political purposes.
And you know, the other thing,
people recruited here to come here to work.
the other thing I'll point out is I'm not sure why Hispanics is such a big topic. When I look at the border, it's not just Hispanics.
No.
There are people from Africa, there are people from Asia, there are people from the country that I was born and raised in. There are Bangladeshis, there are Indians, there are Middle Easterns who are coming in. There are people from all over the world who are coming in. So if Bangladeshis come in illegally, I'm going to have the same message for them. I'm not going to care that they are from the country that I was born and raised in. I'm going to have the same message that they should not be here illegally. Now, I do hear some arguments that the illegal immigrants do certain jobs that the American citizens won't do. Well, I don't really believe in that because we never know the alternate reality. We can never make any assumption because they are depressing the wages, though.
Would you like to work at a punch press, sir?
Would I like to work on a punch press? I can tell you, I would never like to be a doctor. I would never like to be an engineer because those are not my skills. You know?
You know what a punch press is?
So we can go down a long list of things that I would not like to do, and some of that would be really high-paying jobs because I'm not made to be a doctor. I'm not made to be an engineer. I'm not made
to be a punch press operator. Anyone can do
How
it.
come Darlington, Wisconsin damn near half Mexican right now, and they've been here 15 years, a lot of them, they can't speak one word of English. You say they like it so good here?
Well, sir, they make up 1/3 of our military.
So you
You always come up with something nobody's taught.
What part of illegal do you not understand?
Right, there you
I
go.
understand the part where
Hey,
if we
somebody
get 40
finally said
million
it.
people out of this country, we would find a depression in this country.
We got by with money before this, didn't we?
We have 1.3 kids per family in this country today. Just how are we going to get by with anything the way we're going?
Speed up the legal process.
that's a great idea.
This is the whole point.
So that's it. So
Were you listening?
you know,
I was listening to it,
You-
and it strikes me that if I heard this, and I was Hispanic, I would find this offensive. I just
We
can't, I
never
can't
said
say it.
Hispanic is anything. We're
So
listening.
I
I
would
would
say the word at all, you're right, he's talking about illegal
I
aliens.
think you're assuming.
I would say I
know
will.
what illegal aliens predominantly.
I will, sir, I will tell you what I find offensive. I find offensive that my family had to submit the application, wait for 11 years, go through all the process, and even when all our papers were in order, we still had to hire a lawyer, and the lawyers charged more than $300 per hour. We had thousands of dollars in legal bills just because we wanted a second set of eyes to make sure that everything is in order. And then, that's the legal process that I and my mom have to go through. And then somebody comes and crosses the Rio Grande and gets free stuff. That's offensive.
So my
Free stuff is the problem.
Thank you.
back this up, is Trump right now polling 46% of Hispanics.
Yes.
Legal Hispanics.
Yep.
Legal, 46, 46,
Would you let somebody speak?
46% of Republican Hispanics support legal immigration.
That's right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
When you
they're
it's how you
offended
say
by the
things.
illegals.
It is how you say things. I would close the borders completely, a lot harsher than Trump would do it. But I will never tell people they're lazy, They come here to get free stuff. They work hard. They're not lazy.
Right now,
They
Talking
hate
about that
illegal.
percentage of people. Man, I
So
can't
you're
believe
just
you
arguing to
want to
argue.
cherry pick his discussion.
Right.
You're
He
arguing.
never
I'm just
even
saying
mentioned,
how hostile
let me
Lincoln
just say,
State
Bob,
was
he
when
never
I was down.
even said
Let
the
me-
word
don't argue.
Well, that's-
deportation.
I got
He
it.
never
I
even
like
mentioned
it.
it, but you did.
Well, if we're not gonna deport him, then we sure as well should stop.
So let me put an exclamation point
But
on that.
we didn't even get that far yet. Right now, all we're talking
But the
about is
chairman
closing
All right,
the
guys,
borders.
hold on. Let me ask another question that actually matters. How does illegal immigration, with illegal immigrants not being able to vote, affect our electoral college?
Well, that's a
Does.
great question.
It
That's a
does.
great question because, you know, your state, each state, I mean, these 10 million people who came in, where are they? They are spread all over the country. So they're changing the communities, they are changing the population
Mass
numbers.
migration states.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So,
they get counted in the census.
yeah. So, you know, you asked me a question, would I like to do what? Was it a punch press operator? I mean, you can ask me, go down a list of, you know, a dozen professions, ask me if I would like to be this, I would like to be that. No, I wouldn't like to be all that because each individual has a set of skills. You know, when I was in college, I worked in the kitchen, I mopped the floor, I did all that because I was able to do that, I needed to do that, and it was a step in my career. I needed that work ethic. And so then I went to grad school, I had my internships and my jobs. When I went to my master's program, I had to make decisions. Do I want to study energy policy, education policy? I chose healthcare policy. So at every step in life, we're making decisions. And so, you know, if you ask me if I want to be a punch press operator, I did not choose that route.
You know what
Somebody
the
else will.
operator is?
But you mop floors in a restaurant.
I did.
You put a piece of metal in it, that's 10,000 pounds, slams down, you're handing it out of it, you lose your fingers. It's a horrible job. I did it for 2 or 3 weeks. Every last person in there spoke Mexican. You wouldn't have any manufacturing in this country without that kind of work.
So the thing is, I do hear the argument, as I said, that people say that the illegal immigrants are doing jobs that Americans won't do, but we don't know that. We don't know what the labor market would look like if we had zero illegal immigration. Because what I do know is that the illegal immigrants are depressing our wages.
Yes.
Right?
I would agree to press our wages. That's why you should close the border completely and realistically. But the people who live here and have been here for 10, 20, 30 years, you're not going to deport them. You just aren't. The country would shut down. Therefore, messages that they're, I don't have any trouble saying that people coming in from Venezuela today, being of this idiotic policy that they're doing, giving them free money and all that. That's not the fault of the immigrants. That's the fault of our politicians who are doing that. If someone come along and gave me $1 million, I'd take it too, okay? If they say, well, we got to take care of all Italian Americans now because of past prejudices. I think they're nuts, but I should cash the check. And who the hell wouldn't? Okay? That's the fault of the political people. I just think the message where you're saying hard-working people are bad people.
I'm not saying hard work. I did not say that. See, what the Biden administration was trying to
There's
do,
nothing like that, no.
Yeah, it's not even
He
worth
never applied.
addressing.
what the Biden administration is trying to do is they are trying to flood our country with illegal immigrants so that it becomes impossible to deport them all. But are we going to move away from our principles? Are we going to say just because 10 million people broke the law, now it's okay?
I know. That's a great point.
Yeah.
No.
If everyone starts speeding here, does it mean it's okay to now speed?
Well, you do realize everybody speaks, right?
Never drove a
No.
Delphi.
Well, I have also gotten a speeding ticket and I take responsibility for it. I'm just using an example. So it's never okay. Just because there are 10 million people who came in since 2021 illegally doesn't mean that it's now okay. It's not okay. We have to have a fair system. We have to have only one pathway, the legal pathway. And if you want to talk about raising the number for the permanent resident, you know, I said 1 million people come in. If you want to raise it to 2 million, there may be a way to do that. We may be able to speed up and improve the legal immigration system, but we cannot do that as long as the border is open. We have to seal the border
I'm all for
first.
closing the border.
So
I
if-
do it with guns.
So,
Why do you cut in?
in other
and
words,
talk?
if it was an illegal
Interrupt people.
immigrant, they would not do the press operation. They'd only do legal. So,
Chad, in answer to your.
I know the answer.
To
I
your
was
question,
hoping-
there was an article
I was hoping you'd
on the
explain
Gateway
it.
Pundit. House Democrats vote unanimously to
Yeah.
give illegal aliens representation in Congress and the Electoral College.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is, everybody has this mass theory where they're gonna, all the illegal immigrants are gonna vote. They don't need to vote to affect our Electoral College. All they have to do is be counted on the census.
Yes.
California, with the mass migration, should have lost 5 seats in the House. But they did not because they counted the illegal immigrants. So therefore, that affects the Electoral
They're
College
trying
and the vote on the president.
They're trying to affect the allocation of resources.
Yes.
That's another point. What the Democrats are trying to do is they are trying to redistribute resources. Take our money, give it to the illegals.
They picked up at least 10 votes in the electoral college.
Yes.
Any more questions?
And you'll see that the Biden administration are sticking a lot of the illegal immigrants into communities where they've had mass migration to the Republican states. Where their population is dropping, the Biden administration is feeding that mass migration with the illegal immigrants to keep the Electoral College where it needs to be, so Biden can win.
They're backfilling.
Yes.
So,
That's
so
what's happening on the backside that has nothing to do with them voting in the local elections where they live. I'm okay somewhat to that because they live there. But it should not affect anything nationally or statewide.
So what we're gonna have to do, and I'm happy to take more questions, but what we're gonna have to do is we have to vote for Donald Trump so we get a Republican president in the White House. We have to defeat Tammy Baldwin, and we have 2 congressional candidates here running as Republicans against Mark Pocan. I'm not telling you who to choose, but we have to support our Republican candidates
Yep.
so that we can retire Mark Pocan too. He has been there for 2
Yes.
years.
Right.